you said you wanted Tamamo, Himiko, Castoria. Got you. Tamamo, Himiko, Castoria. So we're good to go. What's up, VH Laura? You did, unfortunately. The gacha went ridiculously well. And I talked through Abigail's kit as to why like she's so appealing for her utility usage. You can ignore her stun, you can ignore her sleep, you can ignore her NP damage. It's honestly just like insane what you can pull off from a buffing perspective. She has massive defense down capability, not to mention the attack up for Arjuna Alter and Buster Resist down on her kit. He has Buster Resist down. There's so much. Anyway, that being said, Lord Sinclair, I think. So Sinclair wanted to see this. Let's take a gander at it. Let me think here. There's one problem that I really dislike about this, and it's the fact that on Tamamo's NP, and you already know where I'm going with this, but on her NP, the recharge is going to be largely wasted because I have to have Castoria go last, right? This is overcharge as well, so it's going to sting even more. Now, that being said, because of the fact that I'm reducing skilled cooldown and I should have very high NP recharge, I'm going to try to use her NP last. Because if I can take it last, yeah, exactly, Sinclair. Let's see, you know. If I can use this last, then I'm going to get 37, so 38% perhaps at a minimum. But that doesn't include Himiko and her increased overcharge. So there's definitely some pretty strong potential for this to kind of get broken wide open. So let's run through it. I'll just stay in this overlay as it is right now first. But it'll go Himiko, then Castoria, and then Tamamo. She's going to make up for the fact that she doesn't have a battery. That's essentially what will happen here. So we're going to waste a little bit of battery. That's okay. But it will start things off here. We don't need to use this skill, which kind of sucks. It'll help control the enemy's NPs, but it doesn't do anything else for us NP damage-wise. The arts up is nice. It's more of an emergency heal. But the arts up could be stacked with Castoria's arts up in case we were to somehow get a Himiko arts up. One other thing that I would recommend, Sinclair, if you're going to run this, make sure that Himiko's first skill is like permanently on uptime. This first skill from Himiko, you want this to be as close to permanent uptime as you can. Because of the fact that you are going to have skill cooldown reduction on Tamamo, it's close that you may be able to stack these, right? That's kind of insane. So that being said, we're going to see how this unfolds. I have a pretty good feeling about this, especially if we can get some good RNG on like the third turn, but we'll take a look here. So again, we'll go Himiko, then Castoria. Under no circumstances can Castoria go first, no matter what. It doesn't matter who is in this comp. She cannot go first. Let's see how this looks, though.
終点と宵闇を映す水面よこの身に強行を示したまえ精神かたどる苦音の鏡最果ての島罪の都最後の竜は我が胸に集う円卓の守護者たちラウンド・オブ・アバロンこの世にはびこる念の邪みそぎ払うは我が雫石私全開でご奉仕いたします
Oh, I'm so sorry. Nick Advent, good call. I missed that. If I could pick one character to get a summer version, who would I pick? Wow, that's a good question. I mean, selfishly, I would say Parvati. No, I know, man. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I would selfishly say Parvati. All right, so we are at 50%, as you can see, on the recharge. That feels pretty good. Feels pretty nice. We could Himiko NP here. We don't need to do that. We have 4 hits of protection starting off. So she has 3 left. She has 4 left. And she will probably have 4 left as well. Yep. All right. Wu Zetian. She wasn't terrible per se, but yeah. All right, so what we're gonna do is just ride out this turn with the Arch Chain here. We will use this on Castoria since she doesn't have an Arts card. It'll increase everybody else's NP gain, which is already gonna be way too much as it is. I don't need Himiko to go first almost ever because of that third skill. But because of the skill cooldown reduction on Tamamo, before I NP again, I want to make sure that I have skills used. Nice arrow. Oh my goodness. That's crazy. So now we have that. However, when it comes to the protection, Tamamo has 3. She's down to just 3 as well. She's down to 3, never mind. And she's down to just 2. So again, I could shore her up. I could use this, right? I don't know that I necessarily need to. It's a bit of a risk to take some damage, right? God forbid. But the primary driver is that she has a triple arts card set right in front of us, and she's at 75%. It would be a waste. It would be a waste for me to use this when I know that she's going to kill the Berserker, and I know that she's going to get her NP back anyway. So we have all those hits left. We have Himiko Arts card. We also have Castoria Arts cards as well. So let's go ahead and take care of that. Because of the fact that I need all 3 of them in order to get that huge refund NP-wise from Tamamo, I'm going to sit on her NP for this one turn. And we're going to go ahead and go into this. So again, we want to keep this on as much overtime as we overcharge as we can. Not overcharge, uptime. Much uptime as we can. So turn 4, we're all ready to go again. Yes, they fell off last turn, but it doesn't matter because Tamamo's was ready last turn. We could have pushed for Castoria's to get ready early, and Himiko had her battery. So we're going to push into it once again. Waifu PNGs, yeah, right. So as you can see, we have a pretty comfortable thing going on here. We've got a lot of stars. We're getting batteries back fairly quickly. Again, because of the fact that Tamamo is going to be reducing our skill cooldown every single time she NPs, we gotta keep this rolling, which is not a bad thing, right? If I had triple arts, so 1 from each of them, I could go ahead and just like have my NPs ready again. I don't need to do that though. So we can kind of chill out and let them build as they will. In fact, we could use that Buster card to just take out this enemy and move on to the next wave. We don't really need to do that though, so we're not going to do that. So once again, we have that battery ready from Castoria. Himiko would be ready if we needed it. We have a full turn of cushion right here. Because of the fact that nobody took a hit there, so we have 3 hits still there, 3 hits still there, and then on hers, we still have 4 hits. Because we killed that enemy, we moved into the next turn, we didn't lose any, we still have a great cushion going on. And we have an Arch Chain, so we can go ahead and build up our NP and just have it ready. So the protection fell off. Tamamo has a debuff. Neither of those things are gonna matter. One thing that is a little bit inefficient, let's say, quote unquote, Castoria's second skill is back. However, if anything, that just means you don't have to have max skills to make this work. Should you? Yes, you should. Will it be most reliable and most stable? Yes. But do you have to have it? No, I don't think you have to have it. In order to pull this off, right? Going into it once again. Yeah, we've used no art skills. We've used no buster buff. We've used no, you name it. In fact, we haven't touched Tamamo's skills. So there's definitely a lot of potential in this. We're at 50% refund already. She's going to be down to 2 hits, perhaps. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, right? 2 hits. She's got 3. Tamamo's still got her 4. I'll take a look at it in a little bit, Raka. Thank you, thank you. But again, we need this to keep on rolling. We want that going at all times if possible. And because of the fact that we don't have an arts chain here, we're going to go ahead and make use of this on her, maximize the refund that she'll get, or sorry, the NP gain that she'll get off of her arts cards. And we're actually going to use Himiko's NP here. The reason that's really advantageous is going to become apparent next time we use all the NPs. So as we mentioned earlier, Himiko's NP overcharge is not like a single turn. We have, yep, we're good. No, let's do this. So as you can see, Castoria technically lost her Castoria's protection, right? Her Avalon protection. During that turn, she could have taken damage there. So we could have used this skill, which we have not used yet, to shore up that extra turn, that little gap there. However, we're ready to go again. The reason we wanted to highlight using Himiko's NP before is the following. Now, it doesn't matter that Castoria is going to go second. She's not going to be stuck at 400%. So as you can see down at the bottom, we got her to the 500% because we used Himiko's NP to get the overcharge going twice. Because of that, I could have had 2 stages of overcharge per NP from Himiko going into Castoria's NP. So even if she had gone first, we could have pulled off the same amount of Castoria's protection as if she were going second after Himiko. Yeah. Another thing that we haven't tapped into at all, the skill cooldown reduction on our Mystic Code, Sinclair. We haven't even touched that. We haven't needed to. But that's extremely potent when you use Tamamo because of the skill cooldown reduction that she has as well. Oh yeah, dude. We haven't used the Mystic Code. We haven't needed it. I think what I'm gonna do is probably I'm gonna save it. I'll use it next turn if we need to because it'll virtually guarantee my NP to come back since her first skill will be off cooldown. Actually, what we're gonna do. No, we only got 2 stars, so we'll have to wait a turn. Huh. But yeah, we'll do a Buster Chain. Perfusionist? Pardon me, but what the fuck is a perfusionist? I don't know what you just said. I don't know what that means. This particular kind of medical professional. No, I got you. You're good. You're good. I won't press it. So this is where you start to run into the stability of Merlin versus the fun recharge of Tamamo, right? So so far so good, right? We're at turn 13. We've had no issues whatsoever. Her not having a skill to provide battery, even if it was just like 10%, that's gonna start to become a little bit apparent. It's not a huge deal though, Sinclair. Like I don't think it's a deal breaker. I think you could still run this comp with probably 95+% success as far as not taking any damage in any node. You could probably run it a little bit less effectively at stalling nearly infinitely. It doesn't have quite the stability of Merlin, but I don't think that's like a deal breaker for it. I do think that this is still viable. I have to use Castoria's NP here if I want to continue what I'm doing. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to waste a good amount of battery by using this. And I'm going to use her second skill as well. Now the reason I did that was because of the Star Gather and the Buster Up. So I can sit on this turn one more turn. I'm going to use the Invincible over here on Tamamo. I'm going to use the debuff cleanse on here because why not? And I'm going to use Castoria's Invincible to help bridge this gap. Right? Now, I'm not worried about Tamamo not having that battery. That's why I said like 95+% of the time, you'll probably be fine. You'll probably won't notice a difference. It'll probably have the same results. Because you do still have, with this specific Mystic Code, that extra turn of safety net, right? So now I don't need the Castoria's protection here. In fact, I can go Himiko Buster Crit, Tamamo Quick Card, Himiko Buster Crit, and just kind of see like what we get out of it, right? So we were one turn short on getting Castoria's second skill to come back, and we could have used that on Tamamo, right? But we're so close to the end anyway that it kind of begs the question of like, you know, what for? So what we're gonna do is try to get a little bit lucky here. And we're going to use the Himiko Arts card, see if we can't get it to crit. If it does crit, it's got a good chance to take it. So you've piqued my interest, Sinclair. Before we raid out, I'm gonna do a quick run through. Yeah, it's a good comp, Sinclair. I'm gonna do a quick run through with Reines. So it doesn't matter who I pick here. Let me just grab like literally whoever, right? So there we go. What I want to do is Castoria, Himiko, and Reines. Now this should be the least stable of them all, for hopefully obvious reasons. But it does have battery, so potentially it could be okay. I need to switch the... No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I don't. This can go here, and this can go here. All right, so we'll take a quick gander real quick about why this could or could not work. And we'll look at it from her most recent buff on the JP server. So her NP used to be reduce enemy defense. We would ignore class disadvantage. I mean, we would remove debuffs, which is kind of redundant. And then reducing the enemy's critical attack chains. None of this is going to matter. None of this is going to matter. Their defense reduction for their enemies, that's nice. But the rest of this is not going to matter in the Castoria comp, right? This, however, is massive. Her buff is massive for this. NP gain is going to go up 30 to 50% depending on NP level. That 30% is identical to Achilles at level 10 on his skill if you need a frame of reference. It also provides overcharge 1 time 3 turns. That should sound familiar because of Morgan, right? Great buff. Probably not needed, but it's a great buff in my opinion. Into her skills here, it's a 10% battery. Again, we're only going to look at things that really, really, really matter for this particular comp. We don't care about the damage taken. We don't care about the defense. It's the 10% battery right there. One ally's NP by 20%. Obviously, we would probably focus that on Castoria over the course of the battle. And then the attack up, if we need to, we can focus that on Himiko. It's a great buff at 40%, right? On the third skill, it was Invincible and then debuff resist. That's fine. The Invincible could be nice. The big thing is the NP gauge. Now, one thing that's going to be both a blessing and a curse on this is that it is targetable across the board for the second and third skill. So I can choose to charge someone's NP gauge on the third skill, and I can choose to charge someone's NP gauge by 20% on the second skill. The 10% is flat. That'll be nice to have. This is good and bad. I could see it going either way, honestly. If everybody needs battery and they need like 30% and you don't have Castoria's first skill, then perhaps this is not really like going to be super prudent. But if only 2 people need, 10, 20%, then this is fantastic. You can target it and make it go where it needs to go, especially with the Invincible. So we're going to take this for a quick spin. I've already been on longer than I thought I was going to be on tonight, but this has been a fantastic stream, so I really appreciate you guys. We'll just leave that as is right there and go into it. Yes. You wonder if Rhaenys' Star Gather Rate will be an issue? I'll show you one thing real quick about Himiko. This is probably my favorite thing about her kit, other than the overcharge. So with Himiko, as a ruler, her star absorption is directly down the middle, right? 100 is literally like the middle of the game, the 50th percentile in the game. The highest you'll see in the game is 207. The lowest is either like 7 or 9, I think, on Spartacus. So hers is right in the middle, right? Yes, you're getting decent stars from her, but you get this times 3. It's 24 stars. The buster up is fine, but the third skill is star absorption. That's 300 to 500%. You are going to notice the concentration on the buster cards, even though Rhaenys is right there with that rider class. However, this is only one turn, so you do need to kind of pick and choose where you want your damage to come from, or if you need the stability of the NP gauge. Not a huge deal, honestly, not a big problem at all. But just something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. So what we have here is the ability to go ahead and NP right off the bat. We're going to go ahead and do that. The reason I'm going to use this on Rhaenys instead of Castoria, for obvious reasons, hopefully, is that Rhaenys needs it more. But Castoria doesn't need her append skill. She has it, though, on my team. If she did not have it, I would be using this on her. And then you could use the second skill right here on Rhaenys. Yes, she has attack down, but it also buffs attack, so it's a net positive for her. And because she's going to gather stars on her own, I would rather have that attack up go onto her, even if it's just like a halved buff or something like that, rather than on Castoria, who has the lowest star weight out here, right? So, we'll go ahead and do this. Looks like we're good to go. We still have a full 50% for one person on Rhaenys' kit. We have 30% on Castoria's kit. This time, we are back to it being important as to where Castoria goes. She must go third. Must go third here. There's no kind of slack because of Tamamo's extra NP gauge, right? It doesn't really matter, though, for Rhaenys and Himiko. Himiko is being crit damage, and Rhaenys is even less impactful over the course of a very long battle for stall purposes, right? So we're just going to go ahead and write down the line. It's 3 months fast for someone to complete part 1 without looking it up. I wouldn't say fast. It's probably about normal, actually. The servants that we have available to us on NA now, compared to when things like Camelot and Babylonia first came out, it's night and day difference. So being able to do it in 3 months, honestly, it's feasible. It's feasible. So we keep our, we're back to our 5 hits instead of the 4 that we were on with Tamamo for most of that fight. However, because of the nature of us going in the sequential order, the overcharge for Rhaenys is going to stack up massively. Because of that, we want to try to get NPs ready as soon as possible so that the turn our Castoria's protection falls off. We don't want to have to bridge the gap with the Invincible unless we really, really, really have to. We can still do it. They all have Invincibles. Our Mystic Code has Invincible, but we would rather not, so that we can make full use of everything involved here. So we'll use her first skill. I would not recommend using the second and third skill, because you want to see where your arts cards are going to come from. MP2 Abin, your second multi. Nice, Hoshi-chan. Very nice. Congrats on that. But yeah, because of the fact that we want to be able to have these in reserve, we want to see who's going to need them, especially the second one. It's a good idea to just kind of tuck it away, right? Let's see here. Doing Camelot right now. Nice, Drama Life. Rhaenys' NP gain buff is on full display here. That's a massive, massive improvement for Himiko's NP gain, I noticed it there compared to previous battles. Hopefully you guys did too. It's really, really big. One thing to note, we have used Himiko and Castoria as like the foundations here. I would be interested to see if you could pull things off with other interchangeable servants. I just want to insist though, it's Castoria that is like the bedrock of this. It's the, what do they call it? Anti-enforcement defense or whatever. So she's going to be at 40%, but we can take her to the 60. Yeah, if she gets to 60, she'll be fine. So should be okay if we do this and get some stars. So she got there on her own. She's fine. So we need an NP here. Luckily, we have this already. Tamamo Reines Castoria team. That, I don't know if that would work. That one would be really close. You'd have good NP gain. The problem would be you're going to be completely at the whims of RNG and the arts cards. Like you're gonna have to have arts chain probably once every NP cycle. But we're ready to go right here. I'm glad you did too, Cody. For some reason, Hurt gets a lot of flack these days. He's obviously still very good. There's no denying that he's one of the more impactful characters as far as a servant summon goes from the Holy Grail Wars. So I think it's cool to have him. Got pretty lucky with an Archchain here. We have Himiko's battery coming soon, so we don't really need to press this too much for her. But we have to have Castoria come back sooner than she did. Absolutely. Absolutely you can. Kirk is one of the rare servants who really didn't need a buff to just be timelessly good. It's not just his kit. Obviously, his Bond CE helps a lot with that. But yeah, he didn't need to get the buffs that he did. They're very good, and I love them from a lore perspective, but not necessarily like super required. All right, we're gonna run into a mild issue in one turn. So this is Sinclair. This is where we're going to run into an issue that I alluded to earlier. The stability that Merlin has with the triple arts plus the battery. As we'll see after this turn. So our protection is gone. Our invincibles are largely on cooldown, with Rainis's being unavailable. I do have Himiko's here. I have Castoria's here. Luckily, I have the Mystico here. One thing to note is that if this happens again next round, someone's going to take hits. What's up, legit? Unless I, again, make use of... actually, hang on. No, it would happen again. So if this exact setup happens, this exact problem happens next NP cycle, then I'm going to take damage. Someone's going to take damage, right? Because we won't have enough invincibles to cover that gap. We'll see how it plays out. It's not game-breaking. Like, I'm not going to lose the fight because someone takes one hit, right? But it is something to keep in mind. Yeah. I mean, you can also just kill auto, but like if you generalize what's happening here to any other fight, maybe the enemies in front of me have like 200k HP per or something like that. Maybe it's a challenge quest. The issue is still the same. I'm still going to run into that little bit of a gap. Not a huge deal again, not like account destroying or whatever, but it's something to keep an eye on if you do have to run this kind of comp. So we are going to lean on the invincibles here. Castoria has the arts card, so we'll use this on Reines. It's too late to give away your Murasaki luck. No, I'm glad your gacha luck finally turned around, man. I really am. We're gonna go ahead and use this battery. Because of what it does for her stars. So let's do this. So on the next turn, we should be more than fine. The NP gain on Reines is kind of like the secret MVP here. But on the next turn here, we got Castoria's attack up back to the 30% battery. It's a little short, but that's okay. We can use our cooldown reduction on Reines. But this is why I said that if everything happened the way it did here over a more extended fight, we would be taking damage. So that's just something to keep in mind. This is fine for like 3 wave farming. But longer fights, the stability is going to become an issue. Alright, let's see here. Yeah, Nick, what were you chasing? You got an NP10 Murasaki? What were you chasing after, man? You had to have been chasing something. Was it Tomoe? You were chasing NP5 Tomoe. Alright. Which happened at NP10 Murasaki. Hey, rare prisons are rare prisons. Alright. We are going to make use of these batteries because we want the cooldown to start to take effect. You'll see. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's great that we have an arch chain here, though. That's pretty nice. We do have to prioritize, though, who is going to go first, who's going to go last. Castoria is going to go last. Because Reines has the highest crit stars on her, she's going to go first. And hopefully things shake out to where she gets the crit. She did. Feels nice. So, we have in front of us one more turn of Castoria protection here, right? I am much more than a single turn away from getting my NPs back. So this is where the wheels start to kind of come off a little bit. I already had to use my Invincible to bridge earlier. I also had to use the cooldown reduction to bridge earlier. I'm going to get a 20% battery back. That's not going to matter, though, over the course of like the entirety of the comp here. So that being said, it's not like completely unfeasible. You could blame some of this on bad RNG. You could say that you would take good RNG on the other side of that coin, though. So hopefully that kind of illustrates, Sinclair, like what we're looking at here, the different degrees of the Invincible comp. You have an Invincible comp, and then you have like near Invincible, and then you have like a super beefed up, probably not going to take damage comp, etc., right? It kind of scales. But from here, I'm honestly just going to like try to hit things and see if we can't sneak out that.